Hey 302, I'm Jackie Ferris. On this week's show, we go to the Air Mobility Command Museum and go inside planes like this. This is a C-47 Skytrain, and it transported troops during World War II. But there's so much more to see and do here at AMC, so buckle in. The 302 is flying your way. Where do old airplanes go? Well, if they're lucky, they come here to the Air Mobility Command Museum. This place is fascinating. Joining me now is Michael Hurlburt. He is the operations manager here. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for coming.
Now, I heard a little tidbit that this amazing place came out of a restoration project for a plane called Shoo Shoo Baby. Is that right?
It is. Shoo Shoo Baby is an old B-17 that was restored here at Dover. But the museum's been in operation for 34 years now, and it's just a fantastic facility. We are the only museum in the world that specializes in the mobility mission of the U.S. Air Force. As the Air Mobility Command Museum, we specialize in aircraft that transport and move people, equipment, supplies, in-flight refueling capabilities, humanitarian aid, and aeromedical evacuation, as well as presidential support.
And refueling as well, right?
In-flight refueling is one of our missions, yes.
Now, when you come in, the first thing that you're blown away by are the planes that you have inside this hangar here. But you have more than just these planes, right?
Absolutely. We have 35 airplanes on site, 8 inside the building, inside here, and another bunch outside on the ramp, as well as one out by the entrance and so on. They're scattered about the grounds, but 35 in total. So when you do come, we are open to the public. Popular misconception is that we are on Dover Air Force Base, and therefore you need to have base access to come here, which is simply not true. We are open to the public under normal conditions, 6 days a week, every day but Monday, so Tuesday through Sunday from 9 to 4. We're completely free parking, free admission. We even offer free tours. In fact, the only thing you'll pay for when you come here is any refreshments or souvenirs that you want to buy from our gift store.
So talk to me a little bit about the mission. When someone walks in, you know, what are they treated to?
Well, we have a lot of historic artifacts here, dating all the way back to World War I, World War II. We have exhibits for most of the foreign wars, Vietnam and Korea. But like I said, 35 aircraft from various missions. There's just a lot of history right here in Dover.
Mm-hmm. Whenever someone comes, is this like a 3-hour, 2-hour? How long should we spend if we really want to get a sense of this place?
You easily spend all day here, but most people, general public, normally comes for 90 minutes to 2 hours. If you get a good guided tour, that's probably what it would take.
Mm-hmm. And the tours are given by?
We have docents that are former military, former Air Force. They have firsthand experience on at least some, if not all, of these airplanes. And they have fantastic knowledge of where and what these airplanes have done and where they've been.
Now, when you say first-hand experience, are you talking about someone who maybe has flown one of these planes or been in one of these planes?
Our volunteer docents are old pilots, navigators, flight engineers, and crew chiefs, folks that maintain these airplanes. So all different facets of military aviation.
So if you really want to get the war stories from the source, you have someone you can talk to about that, and you get to see some of the planes.
Absolutely. In addition to being able to see the airplanes and talk to some of the people, we do open a couple of the airplanes to visit the interior of them. Now on any given day we'll have 3 or 4 that are open. However, once a month we have a special from April to October. The 3rd Saturday of every month is our open cockpit day. And that's when we open most of the airplanes on the ramp, so you can actually go inside and see what these airplanes look like on the inside as well as the outside. And the tour guide that's stationed on that plane has some affiliation with that airplane in most cases. So you get firsthand knowledge and experience.
So you're saying that we're able to actually get in and sit in the airplane and
Absolutely.
take our pictures and kind of get a snapshot and an experience of what these beautiful planes were like whenever they were in service.
Absolutely, and some of the airplanes we actually have exhibits on board the airplane to demonstrate some of their capabilities. So it's a very interactive experience when you come.
Now, when you do come, do you have to, I mean, are there any restrictions in terms of?
Unfortunately, right now, with the COVID conditions that we have, our operations are limited to Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 10 to 3. And unfortunately, this beautiful facility indoors is not open to the public right now. We are open outside, and we're also unable to open any of the aircraft. So as of right now, with our COVID conditions, we can't go inside the airplanes, but we're hoping that by springtime that goes away and we can reopen, but we don't have a date yet.
And so the thing to do is to check the website. You guys have a website, you have Facebook, right?
Absolutely. amcmuseum.org is our website. We'll post any updates on there. And in addition, on the website, you can see what we have here. We have some great video tours or virtual tours that you can actually see the inside and get some history on most of the airplanes. And our Facebook page, AMC Museum at Facebook. We're always updating that to put new information on it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you so much for coming.
We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Stacy Inglis, Vice President of Historical and Cultural Affairs here at the Tilton Mansion. Come across the Delaware 302 and learn about our history. Welcome back. We've come outside to take a look at some of the fleet out on the tarmac. I'm joined by Eric Sherwinski. He is the Deputy Director of AMC. Now, Eric, let's talk a little bit about this huge plane. It's a C-5 Galaxy, is that right? And
yes,
the rocket came off the back.
Yes, it is. This aircraft is one of 35 aircraft we have on at the AMC Museum. This aircraft is obviously our largest. This C-5 Galaxy here, 9014, was actually used in the test to test the possibility of using C-5 Galaxies to launch nuclear missiles. So in 1974, in a live test, they actually launched a Minuteman I missile out the back of the aircraft, and it was a successful launch. Well, it was done with the idea that for nuclear deterrence. The U.S. had already had submarines, already had bombers, already had silos. And one way to continue that nuclear deterrence was to be able to use C-5 Galaxies. And of course, they only tested it once, they never used it again. So, but this particular airplane was one that did that.
Now, all of the planes that are out on the tarmac, of the 35, they all saw action one way or the other, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The Air Mobility Command Museum has 35 aircraft, and it spans a history of 80 years of airlift and air refueling. You know, starting with World War II, where you're looking at the U.S. Army Air Force using basically converted airliners. There weren't any purpose-made military aircraft. So they're having to convert airliners, which weren't the best for their roles because they're hard to load, they're tail draggers, they're not very fast, they have kind of a limited range. Now, our aircraft move on to the Cold War era where they start perfecting military airlift. So you start in with the C-119 flying boxcar. Now, one of our most historic aircraft we have here is our C-119, which was actually one of 8 aircraft that dropped bridge sections to the Marines at the Trozen Reservoir in 1950 during the Korean War. So that aircraft in itself is quite specialist. Now again, they're converting these aircraft, they're starting to build purpose-made military aircraft. The C-119, for example, has a forked tail and you could actually load it from the back. Now the C-5 behind us is really the ultimate expression of what a military transport is. It's a high-winged aircraft, T-tail. It also is very low to the ground. Now in this case, the C-5 can be loaded from the front or from the back and can be lowered to within 2 feet of the ground to load vehicles and tanks. In this case, the C-5 Galaxy can actually carry up to 6 Greyhound buses. Now the C-5 Galaxy, 131 of these aircraft were built, and it's really a real true reflection of technology. If you consider the fact that this aircraft first flew in 1968, which is merely 65 years after the Wright Flyers flew their Wright Flyer at Kill Devil Hill in the U.S. And that's really quick when you're dealing with technology. Now today we have the C-17 Globemaster III, which will probably be in service for the next 40 years along with the C-5. The C-5 Galaxy, we still have 50 still in service. So we have quite a history here, and in addition to the aircraft, we also have to do restoration. The museum itself features 130 volunteers, and out of those volunteers we have a good core of volunteers that actually restore aircraft. The aircraft that's behind you, which you can't see, is a KB-50. It's a converted Superfortress bomber that was converted into a tanker. That aircraft has been 2 years in the making as far as the because of all the corrosion. So it's a challenge for us to keep these planes up. I mean, they're large artifacts. They're some of the largest in any museum. So it's quite the adventure, really.
Now, you mentioned the transition that aircraft and the military went through. Now, was that something that happened in the Korean War when we started to see that shift?
Well, you start seeing it really during World War II. Your first true military transport started to be designed right around 1943, where they started looking at ways, hey, tricycle landing gear instead of a tail dragger. They're easy to manage on the ground. They're easier to load. So World War II, they're already starting to see, hey, this isn't working for us. As good as the C-47 was, there were a lot of limitations of what it could carry. You need a bigger box, to be able to carry larger equipment, be able to drop larger bundles of equipment. Our World War II aircraft couldn't drop a pallet. They had to drop everything out a door. So by the end of World War II, they already designed the next wave of transports. That becomes the C-82 flying boxcar, and that becomes the C-119, and then we get the C-130. In 1956, which becomes really becomes the present day definition of what a military transport's all about.
Now, you mentioned the C-47. Is that the Skytrain that you have in the hangar? That was to move troops, and you can actually go into that plane when you come for a visit. Can you do that with any of the other planes?
Absolutely. On our Open Cockpit Saturdays, it's the third Saturday of every month from April to October. Typically, we get all of our volunteers to open up all the aircraft, and we usually get about 15 to 16 airplanes open up on ramp, and you can go in and take a good look. A lot of our volunteers actually flew and maintained those aircraft, so you're actually talking to the personnel that actually worked on them. So it's a real great treasure, and it gives the opportunity that we can offer that no other museum can offer. Most museums, if you go to most of our aviation museums, most of the planes are cordoned off, they're fenced off, you can't get anywhere close. Well, here you can actually go around underneath, and you can get very close to these aircraft and go actually inside them. And of course, with COVID restrictions right now, we don't have that available, but once we get over this, we'll be right back to full operations.
Now, what would you say the crown jewel on the tarmac would be?
Oh, that's a tough call. I mean, the C-5 is really tough, a real tough call. I think each of these aircraft represents some special sect of aviation history. I mean, the C-119 is quite important because it did have it's important to the Marine Corps. Again, it was one of 8 aircraft that dropped bridge sections to the Marines at the Trojan Reservoir. And there's actually videos of that mission of them dropping those bridge sections. So, I mean, every plane has its own piece of history, whether it's the small U-3 Cessna all the way to the C-97 or the KC-97. They all have their own peculiarities and claims to fame.
And if you can't make it out right away, there's information on all the planes online, is
Absolutely.
that right?
We're working on virtual tours of every aircraft. We're up to about 13 aircraft, I think, right now. But yeah, it's a good walk around. We actually walk inside the aircraft, giving anybody watching a good idea what the planes look like.
All right, Eric, thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure to come out and check out the fleet here.
Well, it's our pleasure.
And we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Chad Nelson, and my roots are sunk in the 302.
Welcome back. We're at the Air Mobility Command Museum, and we're going to talk a little bit about outreach. Everything isn't just confined to these hangars and to the tarmac outside. The show goes on the road. I'm joined now by Doug DeGraves. He is the outreach coordinator. Doug, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, good morning, Jackie.
Let's talk a little bit about how you guys take the show on the road.
Well, I have a 12-person team that have all volunteered. We have 2 kits similar to what's here, and a phone call to the museum gets it started, and away we go. And I have volunteers the full length of the state of Delaware.
So whenever you take, the mobile exhibit on the road, what do you bring and what do you talk about?
We can talk about the different airplanes that are within the museum. We talk about the different programs, the summer camp, the October or April through October timeframe when the cockpits are open, how different airplanes got to the museum, and things of that nature with what we have.
So what kinds of programs do you talk about?
We have a education program. We have a summer camp that is run. We have a library that's capable, open to the public if anybody would like to come in and do research, documentation, or look at some things. That's what we have for them here.
Now when they come to do that research, there's so many artifacts. You can see a lot of them online, but a lot of them are here, and you can go through and look at them and kind of relate them to the history as it is here in the museum,
Correct.
right?
Yes, you can. You can see from World War II to the present day the airplanes that are part of the museum.
I know I'm really excited about coming and crawling around and sitting in the cockpits and everything, but talk to me about the kids. You mentioned the camp.
It's a week-long summer camp, half days. I think it's 9 to 11-year-olds in the morning and 12 to 14-year-olds in the afternoon. We have a certified Delaware teacher who comes in and teaches aviation, flight, rockets. They get to crawl around inside all the airplanes. And if they wish, they can take a ride with our Aero Club on a ride around Dover. They get an airplane ride.
It's really important to preserve aircraft history, and you guys do such a good job of it here. So those camps really go a long way, and the outreach really go a long way to preserve an important piece of our history.
Correct. Along with members of my team, I have 3 reenactors.
Oh.
An infantry soldier, a pilot, and a WASP.
Now what is a WASP?
Women Air Force Service Pilot. They did most of the shuttling during the World War II so that the pilots could actually fly in combat. If you wanted an airplane moved from the plant in the United States, it was flown to England by a WASP, an all-woman crew.
Now I know that's a tidbit of history that maybe a lot of people didn't know, so it's not just the kids that can learn from the outreach programs. You actually go anywhere. Talk to me about all the different places that you go.
We have gone to senior centers, we have gone to Rotary clubs throughout the state, American Legions, VFWs, programs at Dover Downs we've set up for, just any number. You call, we come, we show up.
When you go to the DFWs and the American Legions, they must really enjoy, it's kind of like a walk down memory lane for these guys, right?
Many
Talk to me
war
about
stories that come back. And sometimes when we go those places, we end up picking up 1 or 2 volunteers to come out here and be tour guides on the airplanes.
That's really great that, you know, when you come here that you can talk to someone who has firsthand experience. I know you have firsthand experience as well, 24 years as a mechanic, is that right?
Yes. Of the 4 airplanes I worked on in my 24 years, 3 of those type are in the museum. So I have firsthand experience on those 3 aircraft.
What is that like for you?
Reminiscing, war stories, remembering the guys from years back and different bases.
And keeping their memory alive.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit, if somebody wants to you know, of course, when you come, you can check out the exhibits, but if you want to keep the memory, you know, the history alive, well, how can you get involved? What can you do?
There's things here on our website that you can go to. We have a memorial park, which bricks. You can purchase a brick and put the brick in the park. There's benches by every aircraft out there, and you can pick a particular aircraft if you worked on it, or your father or somebody, and have their name put on that bench next to that aircraft.
And if you want the outreach to come to a school or to a club, what do you have to do?
Call the museum, contact the museum.
And you've got a lot of giveaways, you've got a coloring book.
We have coloring books, we have pens, pencils, we have challenge coins.
Now what is a challenge coin?
A challenge coin is something that everybody has. Police officers, a number, but the military started it. And what it is a coin that you've always kept in your pocket. Always have that challenge coin available, because you don't know if out in public sometimes somebody won't slap that coin on the table. Everybody around that table hopefully has a challenge coin. If they don't, the next purchase is from that person. Now, if everybody has a challenge coin, the person that slaps the coin down then buys the next beverage or round.
Well, I'm going to have to leave here with a challenge coin for sure. Doug, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
We'll be right back. Information on all of the planes in the AMC fleet, visit amcmuseum.org. That'll do it for this episode of the 302. We're going to leave you now with a drive-by on the tarmac of all of the planes. Until next time, I'm Jackie Ferris. We'll see you on the 302.